This talk is about the lies that starting in the late 11th century, 1144 in England, a lie pops up. And then after that, a series of lies, myths, whatever you want to call them, about Jewish people begin to drive behavior towards the Jews. And the first, this first lie is called a blood libel. And in Norwich, England, in 1144, that's when you first see it come up. And it's a lie, it's a myth, I don't know how to phrase it, but the lie was that Jews had killed this little boy to use his blood to make matzah for Passover. And that escalated into a belief that Jews killed European children for their blood in use of their cultic practices. Now, anybody who knows anything about the Jewish religion knows that Jews are not allowed to partake of blood in any way, shape, or form. So it was never true. And the kings and the popes announced that it wasn't true, but it grabbed a hold largely because of the monk that testified. He was a convert from Judaism. He had been a Jew, and he said, yes, we have these secret practices, and we kill the children, and we take their blood, and we make the matzah at Passover with the blood of these children. And so people believed that, and that spread all over Europe over time. And even into, like in 1840 in Syria, there was a huge blood libel scandal that came out. And usually when a child went missing and there was no explanation for what happened, it would come up as this is another one of those blood libels. Even in 1913, in Russia, there was a big blood libel trial and scandal, and the Nazis made this lie the foundation of their one of the cornerstones of their whole propaganda machine against the Jews. Then the second lie that comes out, that just what these myths or lies do is that they galvanize regular Christian people to be afraid of and even hate the Jews. You know, they just further separate the sentiment between Christians and Jews. So this one is called the desecration of the host, this lie. And what happened in 1215, the Catholic Church established the Eucharist, or the transubstantiation, as a policy of the church, as a truth of the church. And transubstantiation means that when the priest blesses the host, it turns into the literal physical blood and body of Christ, so that when you partake of it, you are partaking of the actual literal body of Christ. And so what the lie said, what the desecration of the host said, is that the Jews, when they found out that the Catholic host was the body of Christ, the literal body of Christ, that they would break into churches to steal the host so that they could torture Christ some more. If that was his real body, then they wanted to torture him some more, and they would break in and desecrate the host and put pins in the wafers so that they could torture Christ some more. So, and the last lie that drove Christian anti-Semitism, and this lie, actually, the popes and the kings both vehemently stated this is not true, but the superstitious peasantry just believed that it was true, and so it couldn't stop. And this is called the well poisoning. And what happened was that the Black Death came in the 1300s. The Black Death came, and some estimates are that it took like half the population It was just decimating Europe. And the peasantry, the Christian masses, blamed it on the Jews, and partly because the Jews were not dying in the same percentages as the Christians. And so they thought, well, they must know something we don't know. What they knew, what they had, was a lot of, the Jewish practices are very, there's a lot of washing of hands. Their burial practices are very, they had a level of cleanliness that was not the norm for society at that time. And so they didn't see the levels of death from the plague that the Christians were seeing, and so the Christians blamed the Jews. And they how that escalated into murders, riots, is that during that time they also believed that the Black Death was punishment for their sins. And so one of the things that would happen is you'd get these itinerant men who would go from town to town flagellating themselves, beating themselves as penance. And they would go to the center of the town and they would beat themselves in the town square as kind of a mass penance for the sins that the Christians believed that they had committed. And then when they were done with that, then they'd say, but let's go get the real cause of this, which is the Jews. And they would whip up a fervor from the people to go and kill Jews. And some scholars say that Germany, they killed almost all the Jews in Germany with this type of fervor for blaming them for poisoning the well and causing the plague, which kings or popes couldn't stop. They just believed it. And so those were the big lies that society believed, general public believed about Jewish people, that further separated Jews in Christian society.